right. We are live. I didn't even start with my normal intro there. That's how live we are. John and I here a day later. I was without power all night. So I was out of town and came back and saw some PG&E guys hanging out in front of my house. And I was like, uh-oh. And they basically said, like literally just my side of the block, maybe down, I don't know, half of a block was out of power. And it turned out it was some old cable that they had to dig up, and they finally dug it up. I heard some jackhammering at about 10 o'clock at night as we were trying to sleep. And then all of a sudden, fan turns on at 2 a.m. So it did come back, and it was all back today. But that's why we were unable to go live or to actually do the show last night. But we're going live tonight as a make-do, a little bit of a make-do. So we are live on YouTube. Shout out to people on YouTube. And also, we're going to put this show out, the audio side of things, for free on Apple and Spotify as well. So we might as well do this, which is I had the leader of the whole thing, Tony the Leader, make me a graphic here. Since we are free, I just wanted to mention all the different ways that people can subscribe. So he for those of you watching, he was able to whip that up in seconds. So there are a few subscriptions here. So f4wonline.com is the way to get the website, the newsletter, all the audio on the website. Also, Spotify, f4wonline.com/Spotify. For YouTube, f4wonline.com/YouTube. And for the Apple feed, f4wonline.com/Apple. And that is the audio. That is just so you can hear all of the audio, and you don't want to have access to the observers. So that is how you can join us. John and I try and do like a free show once every couple months. So we like to, we like to give folks a sample. I've mentioned in the past that our Spotify downloads have been up a little bit, so that makes me happy. So I'm thankful for all the folks who listen to us. I always say it. I always tell Dave, you and Brian have the smartest wrestling fan base out there. So appreciate y'all for being here tonight. All right, so what are we going to do? Well, we'll do our normal thumbs up, thumbs down. John sent out a tweet after he watched the NXT show the other day that created quite the storm, and we'll talk about that. Mm-hmm. And I have a couple of questions for us that we will answer. We'll talk about the ongoings in AEW, the ongoings in WWE. We'll do our YouTube question of the day as well. So why don't we get going? Let's kick it off with our thumbs up and thumbs down here.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
All right, John, did you have one that you wanted to lead with?
Yeah, I did. There's a lot of candidates for thumbs up this week. Actually, I was pretty surprised. But I'm going to give it to Trick Williams and Mike Santana for the face-off on NXT. I thought that was freaking fantastic. Not 100% great, because I'll tell a couple of moments I didn't like about it, but the majority of it, the face-off, the back and forth, you got two guys who can talk, who are slick on the mic, both have unbelievable charisma. You had this slick talking Trick Williams, and you had this tough guy from the Bronx and Mike Santana. I thought it was I was pumped to see that match. I want to see that match next week when they announced it. The only problem I didn't have with this is nothing to do with them. Trick Williams was great. Mike Santana was great. But when you cut to Santino Marella as the TNA authority figure, Santino's a comedy guy, so it kind of just takes that tension out of the room, know? And I also didn't like when they fought. I wish they would have went to break with the face-off, close, tight shot of them just staring each other down like, yes, I want to see this match. I know they wanted because of the TNA title, so they want a TNA official to make that match. Man, I'd rather have it be Shawn. Say, I just got off the phone with Santino Marella. Shawn Michaels should have been the guy that just popped on there and did. Or I would like them not even just come to Big Tree and come out in front of the live crowd. Don't do the whole music, the sexy boy music, all that. Just come out, phone in hand. Hey, I just got the phone with Santino Marella. This match is next week for the TNA title. So
I liked the whole thing as well. I have not been watching a lot of NXT, but because we got pushed back a day, I got to see a lot of the show. I didn't get to see the whole thing. Now that Dark Side is over, I will be able to watch NXT again. What did you think of Trick's cow print gear?
Oh, great. He's awesome. He is really putting it all together as a performer in the ring. Of course, he always had that gift of gab, that charisma, natural charisma. He's going to be a big time star when he goes up to the main roster. Right? Sky's the limit for that guy, in my opinion.
Well, how would you do it though? He's been in NXT for a very long time now. He's kind of run the gamut on, he was like the babyface, and then he had some edge, and he was booed, and he made the point in his interview. He's like, if you were chanting, for Joe last week, you can't be chanting for me this week. He was kind of doing that thing. But
yeah.
How would you bring him up now? I mean, he's like, he's sort of like in finishing school here. Like he's like a little too, I guess, good for the NXT brand. But at the same time, you really do want to have a good plan for him to come up.
Just off the top of my head right now, I definitely want to bring him as a heel first. Let him get over with this talking. Just have him winning matches. No major feud. And then eventually kind of work his way with the top guys eventually. So I would do a lot of promos with that guy, a lot of vignettes with that guy, just a lot of this, showing him doing his thing, living it up, and of course he'll probably cross paths with maybe Carmelo if he's on the Smackdown brand. Who knows what they're gonna do after the draft, where they're gonna be. But
yeah,
maybe you can turn Carmelo babyface out of that with Trick coming in as big headed. He's surpassed him, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? So you could do a lot of things. But I would probably start Trick definitely as a heel first.
My thumbs up is for Mariah May, because it looks like she is officially, actually not even officially, but I mean, AEW took her off of their roster, which is a sign that they believe she is WWE bound. And I know there's an AEW fan side of this who they're like, you worked so well. You had some freedoms. The character was over like crazy. You were in a great program. And I think all of that is true. Now, her dream was WWE. And I kind of liken it to when I was in college and I was getting my internship set up. And my advisor was like, okay, like, when you do this internship, you don't know if you're going to get the one that you want. So you really want to have like 3 or 4 irons in the fire. And I was like, nope, I only want to do my internship at KMBR. That's the station that I grew up listening to. The Giants are on there. The Warriors are on there. Bay Area sports, all of my favorite broadcasters are on there. I'm just going to shoot my shot. And if I screw up, that's on me. It would have caused me to graduate later, and then I got it. Like, there's the possibility that something else might have even been better for me professionally, but that's just what I wanted. Like, I wasn't going to take no for an answer there. She set up her career perfectly for what she got out of it. I'm sure when AEW signed her, WWE was probably interested, but they weren't knocking at her door. The way to get them to knock at her door was to go through AEW. I think she did it pretty brilliantly, actually. And look, now it's up to her to sink or swim. If for whatever reason she doesn't get over, there's always that's what's great about this competition. You can always go back. I don't think Tony Khan will have hard feelings if in 3 or 4 years if she decides that that's better for her career. Like, this is where the wrestlers themselves, if you are a fan of the wrestling business, if you are a fan of the wrestlers themselves, like, you really root for them to do the things that they want to do and be successful, because everybody wins if you have success at this level. Rooting for her to fail in WWE because she decided not to stay in AEW. It's just it's like the wrong way to look at this.
Mm.
The tribalistic way to look at this. So if you're a fan of Mariah and all of a sudden now that she's in WWE, you're not a fan, like maybe you weren't that big of a fan of hers in the first.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I don't know if she's going to do better in WWE. I think the ceiling is probably a little higher, but at the same time, it is a sink or swim kind of thing for her because we've seen Jade. Jade has had some ups. She's had some downs. She, I think, was injured. She's they're kind of finding their way back with her. And, we may see her in a big match at the Evolution show upcoming. So it is really up to Mariah to succeed. And I think WWE is going to give her lots of opportunity to do so. And my hope is that she hits it out of the park because I'm a fan of hers and I want to see her do well.
Yeah, no, I think she will do well. And I think they're going to want her to do well. I think they're going to get the machine behind her when she eventually debuts in WWE. I assume she'll probably start at NXT first. I don't think there's any rush to kind of rush her to the main roster. Yeah, she did a great job. She went to AEW. She got herself over. And when her contract came up, she, struck right the irons hot, right? Like, her interest was as high as it could be at that point. I think she would have, she was young. How old is she? She's in her 20s still, right? She's in her.
That's a good question. I would believe so. I can.
I mean, she. I think she's in her 20s, and then
yeah, mid 20s. It sounds like
there's an argument that there's still more years she could have done with AEW, but if she sticks around AEW for another 3 years, we see what happens with her booking. Maybe she just ends up being there. But right now she had all the momentum, so this is the time to sign. And W wants her now because they see what a star potential she could be, and I think that's what young wrestlers should use AEW is use them to get hot to go to WWE. I think AEW is a perfect place for everyone, even veterans that get released from WWE, to go in and still get paid a good amount of money if they, So a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people are upset with Mariah May. I see a lot of. Oh my God, you see those posts, people rooting against her, which I think is horrible. And it's like, guys, people don't dream when they play football, they don't dream of playing in the CFL. They've dreamed of playing the NFL, right? So that's been her dream growing up. That's what, I think she's gonna do a really good job. She's a good character. Her wrestling's good. It's not the greatest, but I think she'll get there, in that system. We've seen what they do with a lot of these women. So, and I think NXT is a perfect starting point for her at this time.
I think the existence of AEW is going to, down the line, if AEW is in existence 5 years from now, you're going to have young wrestlers whose dream it is to be in AEW. But WWE has a 35-year head start in this version of WWE. So AEW is a great alternative. And AEW is actually going to be better for certain talent than WWE. Like we talked about Speedball Mike Bailey way back in the day. And I remember talking to someone who knew him a little bit and who had worked with him. And his feedback was, Speedball can't really talk, and WWE is like a talking place. Now he can wrestle that style, that independent style that is very popular in AEW, and so he can go there and he can have fun matches. Now, is he going to be presented necessarily as a star, or is he just kind of going to be a babyface who has really fun matches, but ultimately is going to be beaten up by the stronger heels? I'm a fan of Speedball, or Speedboat, as you've been calling him, because I think he's got a unique charm and charisma, kind of like the nerdy, geeky guy charisma. And, he's a talented dude, but you put him in WWE and what they would ask him to do, and I just think it would be a bad situation. So it's just be happy that you have these two places to work, and not everyone fits in the same bucket, and WWE is very much about fitting this certain specific thing that they believe is a star. And there's great opportunity for other people who don't really fit in that bucket. So All right, so I just want to shout out. The one thing that I like when we do these live shows is that we get to chit chat with folks who are watching live in the comments. So shout out to Ivan and Bubble Master and Transferring Heat. Transferring Heat is in a lot of our shows, so shout out to Transferring Heat. But Ivan said something that I thought was pretty interesting because I think there are some people who think this. So Ivan said, AEW fans should be annoyed that AEW did not try to keep her, and I don't actually think that is the story of what happened.
No,
I think she just really wanted to go, and Tony would have probably paid, a lot more to keep her. But if it's nope, I got to go there, I got to test it out, then he's just got to be like, okay.
And the potential there, like say Tony, most likely, probably, maybe gave her a higher offer, but WWE has a potential to make even more than that offer with the merchandising and what they could do with the machine behind you to make you a bigger star. She's young to take that risk right now, you know, and she would have re-signed. I'm telling her, like, what else could you do? Like, she nearly mutilated herself, and what more could she do at that point?
By the way, Jade was the same way, right? I think Tony even said, he was like, yeah, like our offer was better, but she wanted to go there, so there's nothing we could do.
Nothing you can do. So good on Mariah May, and I wonder if they're gonna keep her name. I'm guessing they will with her.
You think?
Or maybe just Mariah or something.
Yeah, because I can't think of a WWE Mariah character before.
Yeah.
All right, what's your thumbs down?
Well, let's stick in the women's division. From AEW Dynamite.
That was rough.
Anna Jay, Harley Cameron, what's her name? Penelope Ford, and what's the giant girl's name?
Megan Bain.
Megan Bain, thank you very much. Why have these girls in this no disqualification hardcore match? And Harley Cameron, I did not think broke her nose because
she didn't.
I know, because one, she clear on the camera, like wait for the referee to give her the go to win a go, and she goes. And then when the way the referee called over the doctor, I could tell this was a planned spot, very performing. And then the doctor had this towel, but he's carrying the towel like there's something in it. So it must have been whatever it was that they used the color. It looked
the blood looked pretty good.
It looked good, a little thicker than what but whatever. But it was funny because they did this because she got hurt at Double or Nothing in the pre-show. So they had so let's just put her in a hardcore match. Let's just,
that's the part that I was kind of confused about.
And then like you have these girls, Moxie's thing is the violence, Swerve's thing is the violence. So like if these ladies are surviving tables and chairs and whatever, it's like it kind of takes away from what those guys are doing. Your main event guys are doing, right? I'm not saying that women can't do hardcore matches. I'm not saying that at all. But like, if you have your main event talent doing these kind of things on a pretty regular basis, like leave it for them, not the mid card ladies. You know what I mean? So, and then the topping on the cake was that Doomsday device that they completely missed. I don't know how Penelope Ford missed her. Like she's a stationary target. I know Cameron was kind of like crouched down, which made
her head was down.
Yeah.
Which did not set her up to get to take the clothesline. So I don't even know what the move was.
Yeah, she wasn't like, upwards and putting her chest out, giving Penelope a good target. But shit, I think even crouched down, you should be able to at least connect with something. That looked really bad. It was just and then I see poor Anna Jay. Looks like she got legit busted open for taking that DT on that chair. And it's like, why risk these ladies getting injured like this for a nothing match? It didn't really need this kind of stipulation. I thought it was pretty poor. That's just really bad booking. And Tony really needs to protect his performers more. And, if they want to do it, hey, just sometimes you got to tell people no. It's his show.
All right. My thumbs down is to, I don't even know who to blame here. I guess we would blame USA here, but I thought SmackDown was going back to 2 hours.
Me too. I saw that.
Really
news.
Excited.
Like,
so excited for SmackDown to go back to 2 hours. And then Dave and Brian talked about it, but it sounds like it's staying 3 hours for either a little bit more or maybe for an indeterminable amount of time.
Yeah.
It's like
The only positive I can see is that it allows WWE to retain more wrestlers for that roster for SmackDown because they have 3 hours to fill. So I think if they went to 2 hours, I think you might see a little bit more, possibly more cuts. But now that the 3 hours still, I think it probably helps some people.
I don't know. There's a lot of video packages on that show
They
to
do.
make up that.
They have longer matches too on those shows too. That kind of. I wish they wouldn't just go to break like 2 minutes or not even a minute into like the match when it starts. I wish they would just kind of time that better. That's one thing I don't like about WWE is like, when it's going to be a break. Here comes this dive out spot. Here comes this whatever, something on the floor. And it's like, you just know, like you almost can hit the fast forward button before they even say they're going to break.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's so many ways that they tease it that you're like, yep, it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, it's even kind of a mind fuck in a way because I'll go on the DVR and I'll see the SmackDown thumbnail and I'll see the runtime and I'm like, okay, do I even have the time right now in this one sitting to get through it as fast as I get through it? And I'm like, probably not. I'll get to it later. And then sometimes I don't even get to it. So that's also part of the deal with me. So unfortunately, I've missed a lot of SmackDowns of late.
I do my Saturday morning. It's kind of like early morning watch. Kind of breeze through it, a lot of it. So, but lately it's been more of a must-see watch for the LaRocca household. So
yeah, of course. I do want to make the effort because I want to see Jeff and I want to see his early stuff and how he's figuring things out. I'm very interested in that. So I'm gonna attempt to. And SmackDown was tonight as of our recording. I did not get a chance to check it out yet. I don't even think it's done on the West Coast here. So
I think he wrestled actually. I think I saw
Did he?
I think he wrestled Ron Killings, I think, or something. Or I saw him do something Ron Killings. So
oh wow,
we shall see. Yeah,
there we go. All right, let's talk about a tweet that you made after NXT. So we watched Double or Nothing together at Big Dave's house. And then when we got home, you were like, man, I'm so tired. There's no way I'm going to watch NXT. And I'm getting ready to go to bed. And I just look at my tweets and I'm like, wait, this dude is watching this show. What happened? How did he?
Second win, man. Second win.
So
I didn't watch all of it the night before. I got to the Miles Bohr and Obafemi match and I was really tired. I'm like, you know what? I really want to watch this with rested eyes. So I picked it up in the morning.
All right, so here's the tweet. I'll put the tweet on the screen for the people watching on YouTube. So you said Double or Nothing had the match of the night with Ospreay and Hangman, which you gave 5 stars to. And then you said, but Battleground was a better show from top to bottom and by far the most professional looking. So I'm going to let you explain that tweet. I'm also going to say that I didn't agree. But when I looked at your replies,
I got
I was like, it's unbelievable that people treat wrestling in this way, which is, and because so the thing that kind of caught my eye. So there was I won't even mention the person's name, but there was somebody who I follow. I try and follow the content creators who I believe are like really giving effort into doing this, because like this is it is more of a hobby than it is a profession. And there are some, like my good friend Denise Salcedo, who actually has been able to turn it into a profession, which is why I root for her so much, because she's just worked so hard. But folks like me and you and Andrew Zarian, like we're doing this because we love it and we're doing it on the side, and it's a hobby and we like having a little bit of a voice. And so this person who has a website and has written some pretty decent stuff kind of attacked you and did not even watch Battleground. And I was like, okay, so you're going to say that John was wrong or that John was trolling or whatever, and you yourself have not watched Battleground. And so as I was kind of looking through the mentions, I was like, that was everybody. Like nobody had watched Battleground. It was just
I'm sure a lot of people didn't watch it.
Well, it was just the AEW fans who were looking for arguments that evening, who were just targeting Battleground viewers and looking to pick fights. And so it's not really serious, but I like, because I have this argument with Big Dave sometimes, where Big Dave is like, "Oh man, all my replies, all the trolls are WWE fans," and I'm like, yes, because you antagonize WWE fans too, and the algorithm for engagement knows that if they keep feeding you more WWE content, you're going to reply. Like, that's how the whole Twitter engine works. And one of the reasons why I haven't really tweeted a lot of my own personal opinions on wrestling is because a lot of the AEW fans reply and they're negative or what. And I was like, you know what? I don't even want to bother with this. I'm just not really going to, use Twitter in that way all that much. So anyways, not to say AEW fans are bad or WWE fans are bad, but there's like people who are out there just searching for fights constantly. And I saw some pretty bad ones with this tweet that you had made.
I like the ones that they say they're going to unsubscribe to the Observer. And I'm like, okay, I still get paid the same, so go do what you need to do.
So explain why you thought Battleground was better, and also from a professional standpoint, like you said.
Are we gonna do a rundown of are we doing our grades later?
I know probably not. It's
okay,
just
so
there's so much to talk about after those shows that I didn't want to bog that down.
And I'll give my grade for Double Nothing. It was a B. I think you had the B too on the
I think I had a B plus on our Scrum show.
Yeah, B plus. I had that same. And overall, I enjoyed Double or Nothing. That's why I'm laughing about this tweet that got so much replies and people trying to attack me and try to get me upset, which I just had a good laugh about it all. When it was like not my most controversial take on tweets, right? When it comes to AEW, at least. And I thought, if you had to compare the shows, the match of the night was Will Ospreay, Hangman Page. They exceeded my expectation. I really enjoyed that match. I thought they did a fantastic job. It wasn't the usual, what was that, like that Ricochet and one of those matches they kept going forever, and we're like, all right, this is getting silly. To me, it didn't feel like that. It felt like this big match. The two guys really want to win it because the stakes are high, and I thought they put on a really beautiful match. But Battleground, I thought, was the more professional show, not just in the ring, but the lighting, the way the building looked, the sound of the commentators, like. The pacing of the show, granted, it's a 2.5 hour show compared to almost a 4-hour show we watched. Whatever.
Yeah, it was over 4 hours.
But that's a big deal, when you're like, okay. And plus, all those matches on Battleground had some real good stakes in it, where, a lot of Double Nothing matches, it could have been left on television.
Yeah, there was a lot of Dynamite and Collision main events is what I was talking about on the Scrum show that we did after that show was over.
So that was what it's all about, it's the whole show, not just in the ring, but there was in the ring. I thought, like, when it comes to finishes, a lot more creativity in the finish, especially that main event with Trick Williams and Joe Henry. I thought that was brilliant. And the matches are all delivered. I thought Stephanie and Jordan Grace had a really good match. The match of the night for me on Battleground was Oba Femi and Miles Bourne. I love that match. In a way, I probably love that match more than Will Ospreay and Hangman Page, because I was into that story. I love the underdog bayface, fighting up the hill against a big monster. I don't know, Oba Fem's a heel, but he was being heel here. It was like a shorter version of Walter versus Tyler Bate from one of those UK takeovers. I love that match. It's a shorter version of that. And, Miles has a great story. He's deaf and he's a great looking athlete. And, I got sucked into it. I loved it. I loved that match. So, I mean, I'm okay. I wasn't, I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, you're going to, I'm like, I don't care. It's like, it's much as like, you look at these guys' profiles, it's all like these anime, icons and all their profiles say, we support women's wrestling. These are the same guys that are buying on these women wrestlers Amazon wish lists that their mom still
Do they
needs
still
to,
have that? Do they
I
still
don't
have
know.
those things?
But the mother the mother, their mothers are still, they kind of all came later in the day, so they probably up all night watching a lot of pornography.
Oh
and
my
then
God.
and then when they wake up, their mom gets their lunch ready, peanut butter and jelly, cuts the crust off for them, so, and they saw that it ruined their day. And hey, if you can't take this criticism, you probably shouldn't even follow me as much, because I go a little harder at times, because I get a lot more frustrated at AEW, because they have so many, I think, smart people back there that they can really put on an even better show than they do. And they kind of just throw like blah a lot of times out there, with just kind of throw stuff together. If they kind of produce more, I think the show will be cleaner and better. And so that's my my answer to that. So
Yeah,
but thanks for all the engagement, though. I appreciate it.
Like I said, I didn't necessarily agree. And a lot of my disagreement with your take is just NXT is often not that serious of a show to me,
Mhm.
and the priority of it, where, you can see like they're just throwing up a Great American Bash against AEW, because it's like, oh, like we can do that with the NXT brand. It doesn't matter as much as if we were to do it with, a main roster pay-per-view or something. So it's kind of like a sacrificial lamb in a sense. And so I just see AEW's big shows as more priority. And like I told Big Dave today on Wrestling Observer Radio, had I not done the content that we do, had I not had to do shows, I probably would have just skipped it, because we're just piling on show after show after show. And then I had to watch that Saturday Night Main Event show that I didn't like, and I was kind of bummed out watching that show. And then I was like, okay, after AEW, I was kind of done, but it was like, oh, I got to watch this Battleground show and then the next day you got to watch Raw. Like, it just starts all over again. So it's a little hard with the amount of content that we have to watch. Not that I'm complaining, because if you're a wrestling fan, you're probably really happy with it, but there are like limits to it, right?
It was nuts. Like, I watched Smackdown. I watched Saturday's Main Event. Went to Big Days. We watched pay-per-view. Of course, like we talked about, went home, ended up watching Battleground that night for the most of it, and finishing the next morning. And then I'm like, holy cow, there's a Raw the next day, right?
Yeah.
So I watched that. And then because of Battleground, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to watch the full NXT. I have the opportunity to watch the full thing, and I'm glad I did. I thought, here's another hot take. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get them all back at me. They're gonna come out of the basement. But I thought of, between Raw, NXT, and Dynamite, I thought NXT had the best follow-up show from the big shows that weekend, in my opinion. I thought Raw could have been on my dislikes, because it was fine, but I thought something bigger should have happened. I thought I was wanting more on that show. Did not get it. And I thought NXT was pretty strong. There's some stuff on the, the backstage stuff that we kind of just drives us nuts. But when it comes to what they presented in ring on that show, I think most of it was really good. Plus the stuff with Trick Williams and Mike Santana was phenomenal.
And then they killed like a bunch of programs at the same time. It looks like some people are coming up. Yeah,
well, I think Stephanie was, had the title until she was going to go up until they took the belt off her. And what a shocking finish. I did not expect that. And obviously a lot of people did not expect it as well.
I didn't expect it.
But I mean, she's going to main roster. Like, people are freaking out. Like, wait.
She's already going to be on Raw. She's in the Money in the Bank qualifier already.
Yeah.
Adam Pearce made the announcement while he was like, his dog was taking a dump right behind him or something.
And like, I didn't see that. It was official, right? The dog was doing his thing. I saw a lot of like people like, oh my God, what are they gonna do? They're gonna have no one. No, they still have a lot of good young women on that roster. They still have Thea Hale, who's extremely popular, who they still, I think, haven't really.
She hasn't been doing much.
I know.
Lola Vice too. She hasn't been doing much with either of them.
Yeah, I think they're kind of getting past this AAA thing. Maybe they'll be more. Jada's still there. She's still growing as a talent. I saw a great performance from JC Jane in that match with Stephanie. Fallon Henley is the most underrated women wrestler. in the whole company, I think, who should be on the main roster.
Here's a question for you. What did you think of Kalani Jordan and Sol Ruka?
I liked that match. A lot better than that first time we saw them.
Yeah.
I did not like that match. This match, timing was a lot better. It was crisper. Kalani Jordan actually surprised me as a heel. I didn't think she had it in her. Not like she was, this great heel or anything, but I thought she did a pretty good job. The Soul Taker, what did she call that? The
Soul Snatcher.
Soul Taker. That's the Godfather.
Yeah. Papa Shango.
I mean, just like the Cody Cutter, Garrett. Just like the Oz Cutter. I'm not a fan of those moves because they have to jump into it.
Yeah. You have to, specifically that one, because she's jumping out, which means she's kind of falling away. And so you got to lean into it. And that's a hard one. It looks fantastic, but it's a hard one for me from like a realism standpoint.
Well, when you first watch it, your eyes, the secret is, or the magic is that your eyes as a viewer is going to Soul because she's on the top rope. She does this backflip. You're not looking at Kalani jumping into it until you see the replay.
Yeah.
And that's what, but
it actually looked worse live than it did on the replay. Because when I watched it live, I was like, oh my gosh, she like took like a 5-step jump into it. She didn't really, because on the replay, it was she just kind of leaned in and fell forward. But live, it looked worse to me. I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so terrible. And then I watched the replay. I was like, okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
I didn't like the Zarya part, like interfering and getting kicked out. Like she kind of looked heelish. Maybe she's going to turn. I'm sure she's going to turn on Soul sometime soon. And that's going to be a match for that title. But yeah.
All right, we've been one of the things we've been doing on this show of late is kind of trying to ask some questions, just trying to get a feel of a little bit of where the zeitgeist, where the commentary is going. And I wanted to ask you a question because I know a lot of AEW fans, they sort of feel like a lot of what AEW, the company, had to deal with over the last year and a half, like a lot of that bad juju is kind of been lifted and they're able to kind of just do their own thing. Now we'll talk about the WWE counter-programming stuff in a second. But do you feel I on the slate here, I put, is AEW back? That's just like a podcast question. But do you feel like finally that they have some positive momentum into, they're not going to be like they were in 2021. I don't even know if they can actually recapture that. But do you feel like they're in a better position and place than they were this time last year or, post-Punk?
Definitely better position than last year. There is some direction. I think things will get better after All In. I'm hoping once the belt gets off Jon Moxley. I think that's been just horrible. I mean, I know there's some people in the company that really like it.
Well, it's just because they think it's solidified business-wise. It's helped them kind of stabilize.
I don't know if this was them. I try to think what I could put I think maybe Tony Storm and Mariah May would help that company.
Sure,
get
absolutely.
Some momentum.
But the metric that Big Dave uses is Google search, which I'm not saying that's the perfect metric to use, but when he tracks the popularity of superstars, which he's been doing for years and years and years, going all the way back.
No, it doesn't take a hard thing to see that Jon Moxley got a lot of Google searches because he got impaled by bikes.
That is some of it.
Doesn't mean he's a big star. It means he's a big idiot.
But here's the thing: the Moxley and the Edge program, because those guys have been around for so long and people recognize them, that is an easier match for the casual fan to lean into than Jon Moxley versus younger guy who's maybe not there yet. I'm not saying that program necessarily was money or worked, but if you're going to get some casual interest from maybe a non-AEW hardcore, putting Edge and Moxley into that match together will probably the thing that is going to bring them. Now, whether they stayed or not is a different story, but I can see why that may have worked.
The positive with Moxley is that when he does wrestle on television in a singles match, case in point, Samoa Joe title match, cage match, it did well. But when you're talking about the Death Riders as a whole, the other guys ain't doing the job. they put Claudio in the main event situation, people are leaving big time in those segments, right?
I mean, it was
same
the
thing with
same
Wheeler Yuta.
thing whenever they tried to push Cesaro in that same fashion. It's just for whatever reason, because the guy's
really good
he's
wrestler.
an impressive guy. He's fit. He's a handsome looking dude. He just has never really meant that much.
He's a really good wrestler. I enjoy watching him wrestle. Myself, as you know, bell to bell, he has good matches, but he lacks that charisma that makes people want to wait around. I think he's better in a tag team situation. Really, I think remember when him and Tyson Kidd had that great tag team going. I thought he did a really good job there. And you look at the ROH days with Chris Hero, the Kings of Wrestling. I think you need to find him a charismatic tag team partner. I think that's where you put him with. It's not Wheeler Yuta. So
Wheeler Yuta with that long old hair running all down his face.
Yeah.
Okay, so by these two things are a little bit related. So on one hand, I do think that some of AEW's good juju, let's say, it is getting away from a lot of, if you're a tennis fan, unforced errors. A lot of this was their own doing. The lack of management from Tony Khan during that CM Punk scenario, and then CM Punk getting Collision, and then CM Punk finally just saying, I'm out of here, and him having to fire him or suspend him or whatever it was. But then there was stuff that came after that.
The video.
Tony Khan putting the video of Punk choking out Jungle Boy. And then Tony Khan putting the neck brace on after taking the Young Bucks move, and then going on actual television looking like a goofball. And all of I know wrestling fans, probably AEW fans, probably didn't mind seeing Tony Khan selling the neck brace thing on the NFL Network. However, when you talk about mainstream sports, every time I hear a podcast mention Tony Khan, it is always like, oh yeah, Shad Khan's goofy wrestling son. That's how that's how they describe him. And I think Tony Khan is a very smart businessman, but the fact that they still consider him in this way of goofy wrestling guy, I think it's a negative stigma that kind of walks around with him. And so
plus the Jaguars aren't doing well. So a lot of those sportscasters, they talk about, the Jaguars and the management, they talk about Tony Khan.
It's an easy joke to make.
Yeah.
So this didn't even make Wrestling Observer Radio, which I recorded earlier today with Dave. We went 2 hours. I was like, man, this is like an AEW pay-per-view version of Wrestling Observer Radio. But so this didn't even make air, but we were talking about some of the things that AEW is actually doing better than they were. And I told him, I said, Tony Khan is not being the mouthpiece and saying things that leave him to be attacked. You remember, so just during the same thing, this thing that I was thinking of was during when he was wearing the neck brace, he was saying that AEW was the best number 2 brand since Pepsi or something like that. But then he made some comments that antagonized WWE fans. It may have been about Vince McMahon or something. So it's oh, you just now the internet is going to come after you because you made this thing. Instead of just celebrating your success, you're trying to dismiss them because you're in this competition. And I understand why he probably really feels that way. But what has he done lately? He hasn't really said anything that any WWE fan could take, a negative way or use to troll him or use to spew the negative connotations about AEW. He's just been about their business. And I think that's the way to go. Now, there may be a time WWE is more sort of silently counter-programming him, which is, sort of a bully tactic, but that's just what happens in all of these competitions. Now, if that doesn't work and then they get a little bit more vocal and they start dismissing him in the media, then maybe you have a strategy to attack that. But yeah, so transferring, he got it. He called WWE the Harvey Weinstein of wrestling, which is even you know, people probably had to think exactly what he says. Like, who's Harvey Weinstein again? Oh, now I get what he's saying. But I guess my point is I think he's stayed on business. He's focused on what they're doing, and he's not as much focused on getting back at WWE on Twitter because, you know, the bald assholes, Shawn Michaels and Triple H, like
that was the
kind of
one
stuff.
That's the one I thought that was his biggest mistake, because, you know, all right, you know, you want to throw shots there, you know, those guys are going to mess around, especially those two guys, right? And so when people complain about the counter programming and all that stuff, like, hey, call us bald assholes. Now we're going to have fun with you, right? Like, why not?
I mean, that's not the reason why they're doing the counter programming, but it makes it easier. Like, okay, Triple H, he was in charge of NXT when Vince McMahon wanted to kill AEW from the start, and it didn't work. AEW actually moved NXT off of their day. That really looked bad on Triple H. He got demoted for that, for losing that war. I imagine Triple H as a competitor remembers that and is like, man, I would really love to get them back. And he probably thinks, now I don't think he only thinks about that. It may even be like a little small thing that he thinks about, but that's in the back of his mind. He's a competitor. But the counter programming, I wonder though, as much as I understand why WWE is doing it, I wonder if it actually is going to work against them, because a lot of times in the history of television, when you oversaturate the market, you often hurt yourself in many ways. And if you like, we just talked about all the shows that we had to watch last weekend. And if you look forward to the July All In show, like you said, SmackDown and Raw count in this scenario. On a Friday, you would have SmackDown. Saturday morning, or Saturday afternoon, you have Great American Bash and All In head to head. And then Saturday night, you have Saturday night's main event. Now, let's say Saturday night's main event and the Great American Bash actually do the job of what they're there for, which is to do good ratings on NBC, but also kind of sabotage that pay-per-view a little bit. It may very well, like if you have Bill Goldberg in his retirement match on Saturday night's main event, that may very well take viewers or buyers away from the AEW pay-per-view. Now, if you have Great American Bash and Saturday night's main event and All In, and some fan goes, you know what? I will watch Saturday night's main event because I grew up in the 80s and 90s and that's my show. But I'm also interested in this AEW pay-per-view. The Great American Bash show is kind of the one that I'm not interested in. They could actually hurt some of their must-see shows in that way by using it in this way that they're using. And I think it's, if I was Shawn Michaels, I would be a little frustrated. Now, in some instances, I would see, okay, this is my job. I'm a soldier. We're ready to go. I'm going to try and fight, whatever. But at the same time, to constantly use that show to counter program, Shawn Michaels is like, well, maybe if we didn't have so much competition, we could actually do a great number, and we could do, we could be the talk of the weekend instead of just always having the busy weekend of shows and stuff. So I do think, if history is correct in the history of television, oversaturation always seems to end poorly. And then the one that I can think of, I know this is not exactly apples to apples, but you remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And ABC ran Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I think Monday through Friday every night. And you know who was the person who made that call? I don't know if people know this. It's their current the guy who runs the whole thing right now. Bob, I forget Bob's name. It'll come to me. But the guy who's actually the CEO of the company, he was the one who made that programming decision. Bob Iger. And so, then what happens? They killed off the show, and it just didn't really have any oomph to it anymore. So I get why they're doing it now. What I hope is that they learn that, okay, it works, but it doesn't work as much as we thought it would. And now let's not use NXT as the sacrificial lamb, or Worlds Collide, the AAA, whatever, that whole thing. Like, I just don't like them using the shows that they aren't too worried about. It's like, hey, maybe you run one of your main roster shows head to head and see if that does the damage. But at the same time, they're probably worried that they may get less viewership. So it's just this weird thing. And I hope the conclusion is that, yeah, we'll compete in some ways, but we're going to pull back a little bit because we're actually sacrificing shows of ours that would do better if we didn't do that.
Yeah, I think with NXT, Great American Bash is a normal PLE, right? Or they did a TV show back in the day too with it, right? I remember.
So I think it was like the 2 night, like they did the 2 weeks.
Yeah, they've done that before. I remember
something.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're having a little fun, and I don't know how it works with the PLEs, like when it comes to like, does Peacock pay extra money, or are they just able to throw whatever up,
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, they're not throwing that AAA show up on Peacock.
No, that's on
that could be on YouTube. And I thought it might be because of Peacock is just in the US and there's like no global aspect to Peacock. And so maybe they're testing if YouTube can get them in all the places. But then Dave said
soccer stuff, right? They do a lot of soccer too.
Dave basically said they would just sell the rights to Netflix or something, or have Netflix run it. So I don't know exactly why, but
yeah, YouTube's interesting. I wonder, well, what they're doing now with YouTube? They're doing a lot of stuff with content, like their vault stuff, and putting a lot of the full shows on YouTube now. So I think
what's weird though,
stuff up to bring everything over there.
I look at those live viewers. There's not a lot of live people watching that stuff live.
I wouldn't watch it live, like those replays. I'd watch, like, if I hear something, oh, they released this match or something, I would go and watch that, but YouTube's going to be interesting. I think they're just trying to see if, I don't know, try a new revenue stream with that, try to see how it works. And then it's I'm not really too hyped for the AAA show.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, I love Chad Gable. I think Chad Gable's awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
But he's really a mid-carder right now. And then he's in the main event for their main belt, and kind of shows you what they think of the product in that way. It's not like,
it kind of fits with the story, though. I mean, of all the people, like right now, like the whole.
It does. It does. It definitely does.
I'm sure that El Grande Americano is going to make an appearance and stuff. I thought Dominic Mysterio would be on the show, but I'm guessing he's probably going to be doing something on Money in the Bank. So,
what you think about my idea, though? It's a Jeff Hawkins and collaboration with me, is because we were talking about this at Big Dave's, is Sammy Guevara, bring him in as the Oscar de la Hoya, the American who's not really a Spanish speaking, like the home, the home country doesn't really think that he's like a real guy, and you pair him up with Dom Mysterio and their Los Gringos Locos Part 2.
I don't think Dom's I don't think Sammy's as good as Dom. I don't know. I think Sammy's Dom's overhype.
Well, I mean, if you're trying to give him something that would be pretty fun. But Dom is like the ultimate like American kid, right? Like,
yeah, I know.
He speaks some Spanish. He speaks Spanish on Raw.
I don't know. Sammy, he's lost a lot of oomph. Even if he goes to WWE, I don't think he would.
Come on, man! You just told me about this engine. You told me about this the opportunity to rebuild guys.
I don't know if they would want Sammy. I don't think he's one a talent they would look for. But you never know. I think Chad Gable,
and I love Dom. I love Dom. I think Dom is.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. And I don't think he want to put him in a tag team situation. He's kind of up above that. If you're gonna put him with the tag guy, you just put him with JD McDonough as this awesome workhorse, and you got him. Like, why would you leave him out of it? I don't know. I understand where you're going with it, though. I do understand where you're going with it. I'm just curious about the AAA thing. I want to see if there's going to be regular tours. Like, how is that going to work? How are they going to satisfy that AAA fan base that's already there in Mexico? Like, I'm very curious to see the business model of what they're going to do with AAA. The show, I'll probably watch that. I'm not gonna watch it live, but I might. But then again, freaking YouTube has like a million commercials. I might that show might be 4 hours.
Well, the trick might just be getting like I think they have a commercial-free light version that's like pretty inexpensive. Like I'm like, if I start watching more YouTube, I don't know, I might have to get that because the commercials will annoy the hell out of me.
They do a lot more commercials than ever these days, definitely.
All right, let's hit our AEW segment here.
Today's been one of the greatest days in the history of AEW.
Perfect. That's a perfect. No, it's all great. Everything's great.
All right, Hangman, winner of the Cup, facing Jon Moxley at Double or Nothing. Was Hangman the right winner of that match?
I'm really worried about Ospreay's momentum. I know there's that UK show soon after All In, but
Forbidden Door.
I think, but Hanger is getting some momentum going. I know a lot of people weren't high on that promo this week to open the show. I actually liked it. I mean, I liked
it. The part I didn't like, and Transferring Heat brought this up in the chat. I didn't like the part where Ospreay was saying, that the fans weren't into them, and now they might be into him again. Like, I know.
Why
he
would
always even say that.
I hate that narrative that they try to tell in the storyline that we're uncool. We've been uncool. We're trying to get that feeling back. Like,
and then he also had to remind us that he lost to both guys.
Yeah. I didn't like the beginning part of Hangman. It's that emo cowboy stuff. But I liked when he started really getting into the promo. I like that part. I love Swerve Strickland's part of that promo.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hangman needs to just focus on being a kick-ass cowboy, the cowboy shit cowboy, and just kind of put the emo stuff aside going into All In. So that's what I want to see. I think he could be that. I don't think they had an opportunity with Hangman years ago now, when that cowboy shit was so organic and people they had a potential big superstar there, but they've really ruined that. But I don't think he'll ever get back to that. But we shall see how this goes at All In the build. We still have like 6 weeks, 8 weeks? No,
July 12th. Yeah, so 6 weeks.
6 weeks. So yeah, and AEW is not known for their great build, so it should be interesting. But I'm worried that the title match is just gonna be a hardcore match. I hope
it might be, but if going back to Will's part of this, which is he's trying to get everyone on the same page because he knows that the Death Riders always have the numbers. You may see something similar to the Cody and Roman story where it's like Death Rider comes in and, we got an answer for that Death Rider. Another Death Rider comes in, we got an answer for that Death Rider. And it may be a similar story. Now, they don't have necessarily the star power of The Rock and The Undertaker to come
Yeah. Even the Bloodline guys are so over then, so it's going to be tough. But yeah, I have a bad feeling that it's going to be some kind of Texas death match and blood and thumbtacks and impaling and needles. And
Moxley
burning houses.
Hanger beat Moxley in that Texas death match when we were at that Revolution show.
Oh God,
that was like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah. So I just can see it instead of just being a straight up wrestling match, and I hope Mox puts him over strong when it happens.
By the way, you have been in the back putting matches together and declaring who's going to win. And what did you think of the story that came out about Hangman and Ospreay both suggesting that the other person should win?
I've never had that happen before. And they wouldn't have that opportunity. They would have that they could say it, but I would have my plan already.
Yeah, so, I don't think it really went into who Tony chose. Like I'm sure he took their feedback, but I think he had his plan.
And what was Kingston's thing? Someone leaked something.
Eddie?
About? Is that I see something like that? I don't know. I couldn't follow.
I didn't
much
see
was going on, but
there was also some people thought that Moxley wanted Hangman to win, and I didn't hear that I saw. I think Dave wrote in the Observer today that there was a story that maybe Mox wanted Hangman to win, and I know just from talking to Moxie, and he may have even said this on one of the old shows that I did with him, that he really likes Hangman. He thinks Hangman, was going to be like one of their future guys. This is before all that stuff with Punk happened.
He probably prefers to work Hangman over Ospreay, anyways. I would think, so.
Yeah, that'd probably be my guess. I mean, it's a different match with Ospreay for sure.
I don't think he was gonna do the chicken sell that he did for Speedboat Mike Bailey and the Dynamite. I don't care. I mean, I don't blame him for not really, selling his ass off for Speedball. The problem with Speedball is, I think Speedball is one of those guys that you see on the indies, right? You see him on 1 month on the indies in your local town, you're like, wow, that guy's fun. That guy's, wow, he's exciting. But when you see him weekly, you start seeing through his stuff.
And it's the same spots.
You can just clearly see everything, all the tricks of his trade. But
I think when Kevin Knight comes back, see the thing that I like about Speedboat, and it's not even really, he's a good wrestler, but that's not the part that I like about him. I like the chemistry that he has with Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight as kind of the cool guy, Speedball as the nerdy guy. They kind of even each other out. I like Speedball's. I like his little charm there, because that's going to be almost more important than the wrestling. Oh, so Transferring Heat said Eddie told Sean Ross Sapp he was putting it out there about knowing who the mole is, just to see if someone would bite.
Okay.
The mole? I don't know, man. People.
We all know that's Ospreay. I'm not just kidding. Anyways,
the source, shouldn't it be the source?
The source, the mole. Yeah,
everyone talks. Gordon. Everyone talks to Sapp, and everyone talks to Big Dave.
So Kevin Knight comes back. Who's he feuding with? Roosh.
I guess
beat him up
left,
right? Yeah,
they set that up for him.
Well, as long as hope he wins that, but I don't think Roosh really gonna put that guy over. He'll lose the match, but won't really put a guy over, So that's he should have beat Okada in a non-title match, came back, got a shot at all, not all in, but they're doing the Omega match, I'm guessing there. So
Tekla's debut. What you think about that?
Not good. Why would she come back to attack the woman that lost the tournament?
Maybe there's some beef there. I don't know.
I don't think they were in Stardom together. I think Jamie Hayter was long gone in AEW by the time that girl showed up to Stardom. I'm not the Joshi history. Like
maybe she's offended by her clothes.
Like those man-childs that tweeted at me. But they all know about Joshi. But
the Joshi fan base is strong. I think you had there's a trolls in every wrestling group.
I know. I just think okay, you're gonna debut her if you attack someone. When she attack a champion, but you attacking the girl that lost the tournament, no. And it's the stupid lights out thing, and they do that all the time. Here's the thing. Do the teasers of the spiders, that's fine. Do the vignettes, then introduce her, get her character over, find out who she is, then have her win matches and build her up. There's no need to just, jump into a feud with Jamie Hayter. That match can happen down the line where maybe she's about to get a title shot over, the champion. She beat Jamie Hayter, who's a former champion, on the way up. But I just thought it was just bad booking.
I thought the spider stuff was interesting, but it was almost too subtle for me, because it's not like, you remember when WWE would do stuff and it's like, oh, GTV, which they never eventually followed up with. They would really lean into it and go, oh my gosh, what is this thing? Or when Jericho was coming back and they had those little characters play on the screen, save me, whatever the thing was, before he would come back. And it's like, you're like, oh my gosh, what is this thing? The spider stuff just kind of was there, and it was kind of like an Easter egg in a sense.
It was so small too, and it was like
Yeah.
it looked like Babylon 5 graphics, like just coming through.
And
Like it
if
just
you, I
like
mean,
poor
if
CGI.
yeah,
You know?
or you're like, oh, it's just AEW production. They just have a spider accidentally crawling on their camera. Like, what is that? But no, but
Yeah.
the point I was trying to make is that there was thought put into it, but then what they did on Wednesday was kind of the opposite of that. It was like there was thought, so you think something cool is coming, and then they did the same thing that they do with everybody.
Yeah.
Which
My favorite meme was they showed like Thekla in her spider pose, right, where she's bent over looking, and then her POV is like no fans in there on the hard cam side. that was pretty funny. People are hilarious. We'll see. I don't like I said, I don't really watch Stardom. I don't know how good she is. We'll find out soon. But yeah, I just think it's just kind of weird you debut someone attacking the the loser of it's not like she attacked like someone debuted in WWE have to attack Bret Hart after Yokozuna beat him, you know what I mean, or something like that. It was just it's Jamie Hayter's not as over as she was once before. So anyways.
Brody King beat Josh Alexander. I
Well,
was
beating this poor Josh Alexander.
Yeah, I was like,
Got busted open in the process too. My God.
You know who I like? I don't like Josh Alexander, the AEW wrestler inside the ring. I like street clothes Josh Alexander. That dude looks cool. But the guy in the ring wearing the earmuffs is not as cool as the guy in the street clothes who kind of looks like a badass.
He's another guy. I think he's probably miscast as a heel. I think she'd be a babyface. He got over with the TNA fan base for his wrestling. So like get him over as a really good wrestler, like he's not a strong promo. I've seen him cut promos in TNA. They were fine. But I would just get his wrestling over and make it that but he's losing all the time. Like, how can you take this guy seriously? And losing to Brody King, who hasn't beat many people himself,
I thought he was going to be like a cool heater, but he's not.
Some dork he was going back. Like, I'll bet you Josh Allen is going to be it. No, I'm like, no, he's going to be the guy. I'm like, dude, he's not going to. We all know what's going to happen to Josh Alexander. And it's happened sooner than I thought, unfortunately. I like Josh Alexander, too.
Well, I figured that Brody King was winning that match only because
the USA guy in
Canadian representative was Kenny Omega.
And another one of those, that's another thing that Tony loves to do. These stupid like playing tournaments for a 4-way. It's like, man, come on.
So that match is Kenny versus Brody versus the Claudio Commander winner, and Commander's not winning that match, I don't think, especially after he dive bombed on Claudio during the.
So the Commander's like, you know what? Let's wait. I have a feeling, even though I have no part of this match at all, because I'm wrestling Claudio, I have to stay and be ready. He might do something out there in this match.
I just love, you're stopping a guy from interfering, you're getting in a fight. And you come into the ring, but you do like a ring around the rosy around the whole thing because he's got to do the run the rope spot.
So the best part of that match is that early in the match, Wheeler Yuta comes in, grabs a chair, throws a chair in the ring so the referee Aubrey could grab it and slowly take it out. But when she does that, she looks back and sees Wheeler Yuta climbing the top rope.
Oh yeah,
clearly sees him.
It was not.
And
good.
Then later on, Yuta and Claudio both. They're not worried about distracting her to interfere. So what was the point of doing that spot earlier where you're trying to distract her? If it later on doesn't matter, you're not going to try to distract her. It's just it's they need producers, man.
It's an unimportant detail for them for some reason.
That's why they need someone to be like, you're doing this here, but then you're doing this doesn't make sense. They just need that person, and you can't just. I'm sorry, like maybe John Moxley doesn't know what how to put that match together. Maybe he just needs someone else to kind of listen. Just an extra ear to kind of like, just kind of just go over things and make sure things point stuff like that out, because that's a clear that's silly, And then I mean, a guy is running on the top rope. How's that not a disqualification? It's not even in the match. It's so bizarre.
And then the fourth person will be either Hechicero or Mascara Dorada for
I'm guessing Hechicero was gonna
for next week's 4-hour block of AEW television Wednesday night.
Good.
I think is it like 2 weeks in a row they're doing that 4-hour block? I think.
That's a long time. Well, oh, what sucks too? Because Max doesn't take out the commercials, so you gotta fast forward the commercials.
Yeah, it's like a week later or 2 weeks later or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the main event. So I thought something that was really interesting about the ratings pattern was they started decent with the interview with Ospreay and Swerve and Hangman that we talked about, and then they bookended the show with Mercedes and Tony. And we always kind of wonder why they do this overrun because it never grows. And they grew. The last part of the show was the highest viewed segment on the show, which I thought was really cool. Now, the Tony Storm and Mercedes thing was like an introduction to their program. I didn't think it was fantastic in any way.
No.
It was just kind of like putting them both on the screen at the same time and kind of getting them into the ring together. But it was fans did not turn the channel when they saw them in there, so that I thought that was a good sign. And I'm with it, man. I've been saying on this show pretty much since Mercedes left WWE that I think if she's not the best, she's one of the tippy top best wrestlers in the U.S. On the women's side, and she's proven that she's been a very good in-ring person. And then you have the other part of the coin, which is the woman who's the most over in the company with her character. So I think that's a really nice mix. And I really don't know who's going to win. I guess I would think that maybe Tony wins, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm guessing we're going to get 3 matches.
Yeah. I'm guessing Tony. I'm not really into this program. I know it's a big program for them, but I'm just not into the Tony character. And I disagree with Mercedes. I don't think she's been that great. I think her matches, like the Jamie Hayter match, like if you go watch that match back, as they go into the finish, it's all just you hit a big move. I'm gonna just quickly recover. I hit my big move. Kick out.
It's the strong style stuff that you don't like, is what it is.
I like it when it's Scott Norton and Yuji Nagata or something like that. But I mean, come on, like it just looks ridiculous. And then there's a lot of other stuff. Mercedes matches like drop kicking Athena on the floor, who takes a back bump into the table. Athena drop kicks Mercedes on the floor. She takes a back bump into the table, gets rolled in, and is able to just cradle Athena to win the match. Like stuff like that. It's like, come on, man. Again, producing. They need producing. So I'm not into. In the Tony character. I don't know. I just can't connect it. It's too wacky for me. I'm not, but I understand for that fan base, very popular, which is great. But for me, it just doesn't work. But
it's not only for that AEW fan base though, because if she was available, WWE would be all over her. I just don't think she's available. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they would want her back, I'm sure.
Yeah,
and they might even want to do that character, I'm guessing. But I mean, it hasn't really. I mean, it does well for them, but has it really like crossed over? I know they try to do stuff with like the Turner Classics, but do you really see her anywhere else or anything?
I mean, she's on the map in a pretty big way with wrestling fans. Like there are certain, like you can sort of tell, like there are certain acts that work pretty well in AEW, but you don't see them cross over to like that TikTok land, right? Where you're like, because this is where a lot of stuff is. I hear from my kid, from JJ, who's he's more of a UFC fan, but his TikTok has actually rekindled some love for wrestling of his youth. Like this kid was like, throwing punches like The Rock and stomping his foot and spitting in his hand like when he was like 5 years old. But so his favorite person right now is Solo. And I was like, why? And I go, oh, I know why. And it's because he cuts Jacob Fatu off and does Jacob Fatu's catchphrases.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he really popped when Jacob finally told Solo that I love you or whatever. And then Solo's like, he hasn't said that in months or something like that. And it's like, he just cracks up at Solo. But like that kind of stuff that WWE is so good at, a lot of that stuff doesn't cross over for AEW. And I think one of the few that does is Tony. I think Tony's stuff crosses over into that overall like casual or lapsed fan who like kind of views wrestling through like a funny lens, like TikTok or Reels or something. I think she crosses over in that way. Better than probably most people, I think. So
I don't know. I haven't seen I know that I haven't seen like super big jumps in ratings for her and all that. I thought for sure maybe something would happen with that violent match she had with Mariah May. I thought she would get some kind of like it would cross over, but it's mostly just in the wrestling bubble.
Yeah, it is an over the top act. Like it is really a wrestling act, right? It's not like this pop culture phenomenon. You kind of have to be dialed into pro wrestling to really understand what she's doing.
Yeah, it's not for me, and but I'm glad that she has something that's working for her though. There.
All right, we'll move on to WWE in a second, but I did have a question for you. And, as we do these shows that are not on YouTube, we have this thing called the YouTube question of the day that I kind of created so that we could clip stuff and put it on the YouTube channel. But this is streaming on YouTube. But I still had a question for you that I sent you earlier today, which is which move or spot would you take out of wrestling today to make it safer?
The apron bump. I just think it's stupid to do, and we almost saw a death on Wednesday when Kyle Fletcher nearly murdered Adam Cole.
That was nasty,
dude. That was so scary, especially with Cole's concussion issues. And man, if he would have really connected with that, oh my god, that would have been so horrible. And I hope Cole's okay, but I don't know, I haven't heard anything since. But the apron bump, like they were doing it because people know this is the hardest part of the ring.
Yeah.
But everyone does it now, and that no one sells it as a major injury angle or anything like that. So now you're just taking hard bumps on the apron, hurting yourself, and now you've killed or you hurt your credibility of moves in the ring. Like, because now you're trying to, that's how they do it there. It's the hardest part of the ring. And that's what wrestlers, a lot of over time, they just hurt themselves by, taking the danger out of the normal, the moves like the top rope. There's no more danger in coming top rope anymore. Everyone does it. Everyone gets up from it. There's no danger on a body slam. There's no one, nothing like that. Like they I think it was Steve Williams told my buddy Oliver John, they were working a show. They're on the same show together, somewhere out in Lodi or some shit. and Steve Williams told him we've made this business hard. We made the boys have, for doing stuff. We made it. We got the bar too high. We made it hard for us, and so or something like that. I know exactly.
Yeah, I just remember.
I asked Oliver today about it because just shouting at that guy. But I just would not. I would eliminate that bump. It just doesn't do anything. I hate when they do power bombs on it. I know Kevin Owens does that shit all the time.
Yeah,
everyone does it now, and but everyone gets up from it. It's not, so.
So I asked the Fight Game Media Discord what they thought as well, and Brad said shoot headbutts and apron power bombs, just like you. Paul said anything involving puncture wounds. That's more because he gets grossed out by what. But look, that Moxley thing in his back was ridiculous.
That was gross.
That could not have been great for him for 2 or 3 days.
And that didn't get that much play.
No. Yeah. The pizza cutter got more play from when
they lost the sponsor too.
Yeah,
Domino's canceled their sponsorship
when Nick Gage was on. Jeremy Feinstein said that buckle bomb that Seth did to Finn Balor was it on the guardrail or in that thing where he messed him up. And I was saying buckle bombs in general. Like, yeah, I know that you've said in the past that you can do those safe, but those guys miss on the buckle bombs a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So those
buckle bombs, I don't like him either as much as well.
Transferring Heat in the chat also said the buckle bomb. Yeah, and like you said, you take when you do them so often to the fan, even if those moves are dangerous to the fan, it just looks like a casual spot.
Yeah, now they're not dangerous anymore because it's just a transition to another. They go to break. We'll just go to break. We'll be back, and they're back wrestling in the ring when we come back. The newer one that both companies do nowadays that I'm just waiting for someone to get really hurt off of it is the poison Rana. And then they're doing them from the top rope. Or what about the legs up on chairs doing stuff to it? Now WWE did a better job because they actually collapsed it. They gimmicked it to where it collapsed. But then you never know, what could happen. But they seem to have special care on that one. And I'm like, dude, that should have been the fucking angle. That could have been it. That could have, Ethan Page wins the belt by 4. Ricky Stark's unable to continue. Ricky Starks, excuse me. But they end up having a really good match. But I was like, oh, they could have got so much mileage. I got like months of angle out of that spot. I was in my head. I was thinking they could do so much with that. But I know. I guess I'm hearing he might be going up soon. So
that's what I assumed.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second here. Let's talk some WWE.
A recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
All right. So we talked a lot about some of the things that I had on my list here. But let's talk about, I guess, on this AAA NXT WWE show, we have El Hijo del Vikingo versus Chad Gable. By the way, what'd you think of WWE basically spoiling the match?
Yeah. I saw that. I mean, I didn't care, but I'm sure people are upset about it. But I liked Alberto Del Rio kicking the shit out of Vikingo's dad on.
I didn't see that, but I was reading.
It's really good.
Yeah,
it's a really good. Like, oh man, this looks freaking nuts. And I know Del Rio might be nuts, but yeah.
Some of the other matches on that show scheduled right now. I'm sure there will be more. Ethan Page defends against Javon Evans, Ray Phoenix, and the Laredo Kid in a 4-way.
Oh my gosh, this was not a high point I thought on the NXT show. Because here comes Laredo Kid in this like mask that looks cool, but a dark suit, but it blends in with the audience. Like you can't really. And then he does his little thing, introduce himself. But then here comes Ray Phoenix, who's a bigger star, just totally cuts that dude's, to overshadow that Laredo Kid debut there.
I don't know. I don't know why Ray Phoenix is in a match for an NXT title though. They couldn't have found something better for him to do, or more important
trying
for him
to get.
To do.
I know, trying to get on the show. I get it. I don't think I hope he's not winning that match. I hope Ethan Page retains.
Stephanie Vaquer and Lola Vice against Chick Tormenta and Dallas.
Yeah, I've never seen those women before. I'm not a big.
They were on the Battleground show, weren't they?
They were. I don't want to be mean, but
I mean they were not what you see when you see WWE women on television. They were definitely not. They
I thought it was Eric Stoltz from The Mask. One of them. I was like, what the hell is that? But
yeah, Transferring Heat said Javon was on SmackDown tonight.
Oh, very cool. Good for him.
And then Santos Escobar, Angel Umberto versus Psycho Clown, El Hijo del Wagner, Dr. Wagner Jr. and Pagano. That is.
I wonder what the rules are going to be. Is it going to be like you 3 out of 3 falls, where you pin 2 of the other guys, but then you beat the captain in the 3rd fall? Or
I think, yeah.
You just keep it.
I think most AAA matches, and I have not kept up with it, but I remember they went against kind of the traditional style, and they were doing more 1 fall stuff. But then, Yeah, the captain's match or whatever is like I never understood it, but I'm sure it'll be more WWE style because they're trying to bring they're trying to be an American product in a sense.
I say keep it simple. One fall. Let's not overcomplicate it. Aerostar, I think, is on the show. That guy always misses everything. He's gonna be on the show.
You know what I told Dave? I was like, they're putting a lot behind Vikingo, which is cool, but I hope that he's like locked in.
I hope he stays healthy.
Yeah, that's another thing.
That's a major issue with him.
Yeah. But I hope they got him locked up so that he can't.
I'm sure all this television exposure they've been doing, I don't think they would put him out there if they didn't have him under contract.
Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not I don't know about the show. I'll watch it. I gotta see what they're gonna do, but
yeah, for sure. All right. So I just wanted to shout out that this was a piece of news. Rick Derringer, R.I.P. Rick Derringer. Yeah. It was kind of sad to me. Not sad because I have a hard time being really sad when someone like lived a long life, right? I think it was 77. It's not super long, but it's more when people's lives are a lot cut short where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But I mean, he lived a long life, but that's a name that you wouldn't hear all that much. Mm-hmm. And then you would hear it, and then all of a sudden you'd get these memories just by hearing the name Rick Derringer. You're like, oh, Real American, Demolition Theme, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. And so I was talking in our Discord about I have the wrestling album on vinyl. Yeah. Like it's sitting right next to me over here in my vinyl collection. And the funniest thing about that album is, or kind of the trivia piece of that album is Cyndi Lauper and her previous, I don't know if they were married, but her previous significant other, Dave Wolf, they're the producers on that album. And Cyndi Lauper goes by the kayfabe name on that album of Mona Flambe. all the credits are Mona Flambe, and then they even mentioned the name. I think Vince mentions Mona Flambe on the album. So nice little history there. And he was also on the Pile Driver album as well, which I had in video or in audio cassette. I didn't actually have the vinyl. I had the audio cassette.
Yeah. Sad. Sad to hear him pass. Sad to hear Rain from Big Trouble in China passed away.
I saw that on your Twitter feed.
Man, come on.
All right, let's talk about Money in the Bank so far. The men's ladder match, as of this recording, there's still one more spot that they have to give out. It's Seth Rollins versus Penta versus Solo versus LA Knight versus Andrade, and I think it's Punk. Who else is in that match? I think Chad Gable lost, so. The masked Chad Gable, I think, is in the match with Punk and one other person. I'll find it because it was on F4W's homepage.
Oh, it's gonna be on Raw this Monday.
Yeah.
Punk.
It is AJ Styles.
Ladder match
is the other one.
Punk.
The qualifying match: AJ Styles, CM Punk, and El Grande Americano on Raw.
I'm gonna say AJ Styles is winning that match. I don't know.
So
maybe
Punk gets screwed.
Punk gets screwed. He screws Seth.
Gets Seth back at the pay-per-view.
I just very nervous about CM Punk in a ladder match. So,
women's Money in the Bank: Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Naomi, who beat Jade and somebody else on SmackDown. Julia. And Roxanne Perez versus TBD.
I'm gonna say Roxanne for now.
All right. Who's the
Liv might be in it soon, right? Did she get out of it or eliminated?
No, she wasn't in. She was in that match with Kairi Sane that was not very good on Raw.
No.
Oh, the last Money in the Bank qualifier is Stephanie Vaquer, Liv Morgan, and Ivy Nile. So that's Monday's match.
Liv's gonna I'm still gonna say Roxanne winning that.
Interesting. And John Cena and Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso in the match that no one asked for, that I still do not like. And
you were in a rage at
then
Dave's house for that match.
I hated Saturday night's main event so much.
It was
And
a bad show.
it was rushed. Like nothing stuck. It was like on fast forward. So much commercials. Jesse the Body being out of his mind.
Yeah, that was the word.
And Lyra versus Becky. If Lyra wins, Becky cannot challenge her for her title, and if Becky wins, Lyra has to raise her hand.
The tag match. I want to think what would be interesting. Well, it may have be something with when's Saudi Arabia show?
That is June, sometime in June. No. I'm sorry, July. I think that's the July PLE is Saudi Arabia.
So was that Night of Champions or something like that? They're gonna do that thing again,
cross brand or whatever.
So I'm guessing it's gonna be Jey Uso, John Cena. So you can't beat Cody. Cody can win. Logan Paul can easily take the pin there. I'm gonna say Cena wins probably by cheating over Jey Uso somehow.
And I guess the only other thing that I had for tonight, I just like you said, I really like Mike Santana. I was really high on him in AEW. I just thought he was like such a cool, badass, like street guy. And I think he just looks like a star. I thought he looked great in the NXT angle, even in the at Battleground when he just did that little interview when he walked in. I looked great. So I'm all for Santana. I hope that the problem is if he's in TNA for too long, he kind of gets that TNA stench to him. And I hope that WWE would actually bring him over, because he stays in TNA for too long, then he's just doing great stuff that really doesn't have an opportunity to truly get over, because it's still not easy to watch that show.
Yeah, I mean TNA. I don't think it would hurt him. I don't think he'll be there that long, but I think he could probably be the guy that beats.
Yeah, he could be
the
Trick.
title.
He could be Trick.
I think he definitely earned a future contract with WWE. You know, I'm pretty sure they're kind of already high on that guy here, anyways, from what they've seen. You know, as they've been working with TNA in this last 6 months, or wherever it's been. Yeah, I thought, you know, back when he was in AEW, that the team he had with Ortiz, I thought they should have been the top team at that time, but I know they had their issues, but
they don't like each other.
They don't like each other. Some shit happened. But I think he has really big potential. They had a really good match on NXT with Tavion Heights, who I'm really high on. You know, if I had to start a promotion today, I think he'd be one of my top go-getters of young talent, you know, for sure. Him and young Miles Bourne. So we mentioned by the way, Dave had a fantastic thing in the newsletter, which the way that he wrote it was not great, but it still popped me. I will read it to you, and yes, it's very juvenile why I started laughing, but I thought it was pretty funny. So where is it? Oh, Dave wrote, during media for the show in Florida, Obafemi was doing it with Stephanie Vaquer and noted that he was taking out Vaquer's boyfriend, acknowledging it was Miles Bourne. Obafemi was doing it with Stephanie Vaquer. That was the way that Dave wrote that sentence. Wow. Night writing for Dave, I think.
Yeah. That was, you know, that's like the fourth or fifth grade way to say that someone was doing something. They're doing it. You know, they're doing it.
Yeah.
So all right, last couple things here. So we mentioned Ricky Saints probably going up in the near future. Vaquer already on Raw, and I guess Jordan Grace on SmackDown, right?
I've heard that too. So
possible. Great for the women's division. I still think they need to figure out some more programs because Rhea is great. Rhea is the giant star, but it seems like everyone else is just kind of like a little lower than they should be because there's just not a lot of interesting programs. Like Chelsea Green does a lot with not
Yeah,
a lot,
yeah.
but she's more for the entertainment. She's not for like the women's wrestling. And they got this big Evolution show coming up, so I think adding these women and you have your NXT women, that Evolution show could be good, but they got to do something with it. They got to start booking it soon because it seemed like it was a little bit of a throw in on the Battleground commercial for it. I was like, oh, that's how you announce pay per view instead of like a storyline creating, the reason to have it or whatever. So,
what do you think about Jordynne Grace? Like,
I will say I liked the idea of Jordynne Grace more than I like what I've seen from Jordynne Grace in NXT.
I think a lot of it too. I thought she had a really good match with Stephanie at Battleground, but also she's lost a lot of her mass.
Mm-hmm.
And
same thing with Jade Cargill, by the way. Jade Cargill's still really cut, but she's not as big as she was either.
But she's taller.
Sure.
Has more of a presence.
You know who might be the most put together one is just still Bianca. Like Bianca was looking, oh my gosh,
great at WrestleMania, and Rhea too. But I think Jordynne going up. I think she'll have more issues being a smaller worker, even though she's still muscular and all that stuff. But I know that you say, well, look at Roxanne, she's doing it. But I think Roxanne just is a few levels higher when it comes to in-ring work than Jordynne. I think Jordynne, I don't know. We'll see. I hope she does well, but
it will be interesting to see what they think. Because someone who you can kind of compare them size-wise is Ivy Nile. Ivy Nile is a very similar size to Jordynne Grace. And she doesn't have the length of time working and stuff as Jordynne, but they kind of have a role for her that if they did that with Jordynne, then I don't think that would be great for Jordynne.
Yeah. I mean, I won't be surprised if nothing major develops with Jordynne Grace and WWE.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful, but I'm hopeful for everybody. I want to see everyone.
I want to see everyone succeed too, but I'm just saying, it wouldn't be like, oh wow, I can't believe they missed the boat with her. But I think Stephanie seems like they really have big plans for her. So.
Yeah, I think she's been great. I think she's been really great. The last thing I want to mention, I just want to shout out Judgment Day. Adding Roxanne Perez to Judgment Day was like, brilliant. So brilliant. They're just keeping this thing going. It's so entertaining. I just thought, how are they going to keep this thing going? They took the two biggest stars out of it and it's still going. It's still entertaining. I crack up. I love the very easy to see stupid Dom stuff where he gets himself in trouble. Just the Roxy in that group has just been
Finn trying to mess with.
Finn is great.
Yeah,
like he's in on it. Like he knows that these guys are screwing with him. JD, we mentioned JD last week. I thought he's been great in it too.
Carlito and Raquel, will they, won't they? Their thing, which I find a very entertaining part of the background scenery of those backstage segments. I don't like them playing video games all the time.
That's like the one way that they get the video game on TV.
I know. I just don't. I guess they're a goofy bunch. It kind of works for them, but
better than the frat house that we saw on AEW.
How would that rating do?
Jacked Jameson. I was like, wait, is him as part of the frat house? That dude looks like he's like 45 years old. Like, how's he supposed to be in college?
He missed his calling to be on WWE Worldwide in like the dying days, right? He might have been on it. No, he looked like an old guy.
I was like, man, Griff Garrison feels like he's been in AEW since the beginning. He should have graduated from the frat house by now.
Abaddon got her is not going to be renewed. I don't know if you saw that. There's a lot of emotions, I know. I'm thinking like, damn, when the last time she's been on AEW television? It's according to Cage Match. it said December of 2023 was last AEW. I'm not AEW branded show, though she did some ROH stuff, but that was
Yeah.
like her last ROH match was like in February.
Wouldn't they usually bring her back for like a Halloween thing?
Yeah,
or-
Halloween. Oh, there's still Halloween, so there's the thing. Like Tony has all these people in the contract. You can literally release a lot of these people and just book them per appearance.
Yeah,
I
he
think most of
totally
them not
could do
gonna.
that.
I mean, I don't think WWE's gonna be like, oh, we gotta get Nick Comoroto back. You know what I mean? Like you just, just book him. I don't think he's under contract anymore, but something like that. Those guys.
Yeah.
Aaron Solo, I think, is still maybe under contract. I don't know, but it's like, yeah, I think just do per appearance.
All right, so that's gonna be it from here. We'll be back next week. I think you said you're gonna be out of town the following week, correct?
Yes. So there might be a chance. I'll let you know by when we do a show next week where I'll be. That's official. Yeah, we might cancel it. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, so we appreciate everybody. I want to throw this graphic up again since this is a free show. How you can subscribe, f4wonline.com and then f4wonline.com / Spotify, YouTube, and Apple if you want to subscribe just to see the audio or the video. John and I, like I said, we'll go free once every couple months, but normally we're behind the paywall. So if you want to listen to us every week, I try to do this show differently. As you can tell, I do try to produce it a little bit. We're not going to outdo Dave and Brian or Brian and Vinny. They are iconic in what they do. So we try to be a little bit different and creative at the same time, and appreciate everybody who popped in and checked us out on this show. So we'll be back next week. For John, I am Double G. See you when we see you. Peace out.